All right, guys, welcome back. I'm Jake ELLENBOGEN. Today we're going to be talking about the takeaways, both good and bad, that I saw from this game. Before we dive into that, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow me on all social media at JKBogan, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Kick. So before we get into the rest of this video, just want to let you guys know that today's sponsor of the video is none other than Prize Picks. Prize Picks, you can go and check out the app. The link is in the description below, and get $50 in your account instantly when you play a $5 lineup. That means tonight there's Monday Night Football. If you were watching this the day it was posted, well, Monday Night Football, you got the Seahawks headed to Detroit, and you got Miami taking on Tennessee. So plenty of players that you can get in on the action for. You can select just all sorts of projections. If you believe that they're going to have more or less than the projections provided, then you hit more or less. You can have up to 6 players in a order. And yeah, so go and check it out. Tyreek Hill, if you think he's going to score a touchdown, you can do that. If you think he's going to have X amount of carries, you can do that. If you think, Tyler Huntley is going to go off, by all means. If you think Jared Goff is going to throw a pick, it's all there. So check out Prize Picks. Link is in the description below. $50 in your account instantly. You don't even have to win your $5 lineup that you put together. So be sure to use promo code JKBogan to get in on the action. All right. So looking at this game was incredibly frustrating. I mean, the morning after I'm recording this, I still can't believe they lost. And yet I can, because I've seen this so many times. How many years has it been in Sean McVay's tenure where he has a game where you're just like, how the hell did you lose? Well, this is that game for this season, because the Lions game, say what you will about the Lions game, they absolutely should have won. They dominated the Lions in the second half, and then overtime they were exhausted and they lost. But they were also down 17-3, okay? I can understand losing to a team that was beating you 17-3, was heavily favorited, and was at home. But losing to a rookie quarterback who played like complete garbage, in my opinion. He did not play well. He had a really nice touchdown pass, but he did not play well, Caleb Williams. Then you have the run game going into it, 1.8 yards per carry average from DeAndre Swift. He goes off. You hold the receivers in check, including Cole Kmet, the talented tight end. The offensive line, you just create so much havoc and pressure on the quarterback. And it's like, I just don't know how you lost this game. So we'll start off with the positives. Because I'd assume, well, I don't know. Most of you are probably positive. So you want to hear about the good. So what good did I take away from this game? Well, I'm going to start off by saying Matthew Stafford is still an elite quarterback. There is no doubt in my mind Matthew Stafford has what it takes to win any game at any moment, at any time. However, couldn't get it done this time around. And that was a pretty big hole to climb out of. Now, Matthew Stafford made some incredible throws in this game. He just does such a great job of sliding around in the pocket, making plays. He's, I would say, an underrated mobile quarterback, and we see that week in and week out. In addition to that, Kyren Williams had his best game of the year, and he was utilized in the passing game. So I like to see that. We'll get into my issue with his utilization in the passing game, but all in all, feel pretty good about that. Tutu Atwell was featured again in the passing game. This is what we like to see. 2 weeks in a row, Tutu Atwell is the leading receiver for the team. Great stuff. Atwell probably could have had way more yardage. You saw multiple times in this game, he gets over the top of the defense. Stafford's not able to get it to him, whether that be because of pressure or you just missed him. But either way, Atwell looks like he is a lightning rod for this offense. In addition to that, Jordan Whittington How about Jordan Whittington, right? Whittington is a 6th-round rookie, and kind of like what I said at the beginning of the year when I said there's only one wide receiver in this draft that reminds me of like the Puka Nacua-esque receiver, and that was Whittington. Both in the whole, his body composition and just the type of player he is. The guy that's going to stick his face in the fan and get dirty in the run game and block, but also make plays after the catch, be a running back with the ball in his hand. That is Jordan Whittington. He was the leading receiver in this game, in terms of targets and in terms of receptions. So big game and great positives to take away from this game with Jordan Whittington, who I think is just scratching the surface of how great he can be. The offensive line held up pretty well for the most part. So that's one thing I wanted to point out. So I'm looking here at PFF, who, of course, has all the pressure stats and everything. And looking at the offensive line, they only gave up 7 pressures. Now, they gave up 3 sacks, so that was a maximized output for the Bears, especially like their defense. But they only gave up 7 pressures. So I thought you saw really good things out of Logan Bruss, and you saw some really good things out of Bo Limmer, both of which did not allow a sack. They allowed, Limmer allowed 2 pressures, and then Logan Bruss, of course, allowed a pressure. But I thought they did a really nice job in pass pro, and you're just asking a lot of them, throwing them in the fire. Logan Bruss, for God's sake, didn't even play on the left side in college, let alone the NFL. So to see what he's been able to do has been impressive. And then Bo Limmer being thrown in the fire as the starting center, I mean, he's looked pretty solid, so I have no issues there. Akello Witherspoon got some snaps, 9 to be exact, in this game, and he almost forced a fumble on the first snap of the game. I don't know if you guys saw it. He almost tore the ball out. It was sliding. He's able to hang on to it, but you see right away the active hands of an Akello Witherspoon. You see the athleticism on full display. He's faster. He's stronger. Moving forward, he needs an increased workload. We'll see if he gets that, but he definitely can help the Rams down the stretch. They're going to need a lot of help, and I think he can help there. So good things to take away there. Jared Verse was an absolute menace in this game. He won 50% of his reps. That's insane. I don't think it's being talked about enough, and so I'm going to have an isolated video on Jared Verse. But it is insane what he is doing right now for the Rams, and I can't stress it enough. I'm really impressed with what I've seen from Jared Verse. I understand he's missing tackles and missing sacks and unable to finish, whatever, but he's been very good. You can't deny that, and I'm definitely not going to deny that. He's got 17 pressures, which leads all rookies. It's more than Von Miller had his first 4 games, more than Aaron Donald had in his first 4 starts, more than all sorts of guys, whether that's Josh Allen, Myles Garrett, Robert Quinn, the list goes on, J.J. Watt. He's off to a great start. So that's something I'm going to say. I think Verse looks incredible so far as a pass rusher. Yes, you want him to finish. That is true. You definitely want him to get home and finish those sacks. But there have been plenty of guys in the past who haven't been able to do that. And still, you can't discount, you can't discredit how much a quarterback pressure matters to the flow of a game, to the flow of a play. It opens up different doors. If, by all means, Jared Verse can't get home and finish the sack, other guys have to be able to do that. In addition to that, it also puts a lot of pressure on a rookie, or any quarterback for that matter, but let's just say in this case, Caleb Williams, a rookie that already doesn't look comfortable in the pocket, and now he's being rushed. And what we saw is he missed some guys, he missed some throws, the tempo was off, the timing was off, the velocity was too much, he didn't put enough touch, and that's the thing. When you have a really good pass rush, it makes a not-so-good secondary look good. And so I'm not saying the Rams have a bad secondary, but it makes it a little bit easier. So let's not act like quarterback pressures mean zero, like a lot of people are starting to act. It's actually getting kind of annoying because I think it's a total discredit to what Jared Verse is doing, who, by the way, in the league right now among all of the front, defensive front players, whether you're talking interior defensive line, you're talking a 4-3 defensive end, you're talking a 3-4 outside linebacker, Jared Verse has won more reps than any of them except for Aiden Hutchinson this season. He's second in win rate. So the last thing I'm going to do is try and make it sound like this guy's struggling, because he might not be finishing sacks. He might be, they might be able to break his tackles, but make no mistake, his presence is felt, it matters, and it's a big reason why the Rams are getting so much pressure early on, despite having a younger defense, despite not having Aaron Donald, despite the secondary not being as good as years past. It's impressive, and do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Moving on, Byron Young had another quality game as a rusher. I know sometimes Byron Young disappears, and I feel like now it's kind of hard because he's got 0 and Verse has 8, and if you look too quickly, they look the same. But what I will say is this. Byron Young is playing some quality football. Now, he still gets lost at times. He'll still get, stonewalled, what have you. But this is definitely somebody that has made some strides this year. Definitely looks like a better overall player, which is to be expected. He had a 12.5% win rate. So again, not crazy, but he still got 4 pressures, had as many as Verse, by the way. So I thought he did a nice job there, and he continues to do a nice job. He had probably the best game of his career last week and follows it up with a pretty solid game. Not a bad look. Braden Fisk flashed some all-level ability, all-pro level ability. That's what I meant to say. Fisk looks so good as a pass rusher. He looked good as a run defender. Fisk is only going to get better. The thing that kind of gets lost in translation is Jared Verse and Braden Fisk are guys that never got any reps in preseason. They held them out because they were going to be that much of a focal point for their defense, and we're seeing that. Now, that may have held them back a little bit going into the regular season, but we're not really seeing much of a holdback. Braden Fisk is going to be a very good player for a long time. So is Jared Verse. I think the Rams absolutely nailed both picks, and I don't care about the missed tackles or the pressures and no sacks. I don't care because eventually those are going to come together. The stars are going to align, and you're going to see full front and firsthand that this team has a lot of talent up front on the defensive line. Quentin Lake, he played the best game of his young career. In my opinion, I thought he was great in coverage. I thought he was great as a blitzer. He got a sack. He looked really active. After last week, where he was kind of the sacrificial lamb, trying to scheme around, Trey White and just keep everything in front of them, I thought this week was a huge bounce back week for Quentin Lake. He showed why he's a captain, and he showed why this team is so excited about him. Bobby Brown was stout in the run game. I still don't know why the way that they're using Bobby Brown, I feel like he should be on the field more, but be it as it may, this is still a very, very good player. He's the youngest defensive lineman on the team, and he was absolutely stout in the run game. You might not have noticed it because, the run game it looked pretty good against the Rams, but it kind of goes unnoticed. That's what Bobby Brown does. He does a lot of things that go unnoticed. You watch the All-22 and you come away thinking, oh, okay, I see you. And that's what happened. And the last thing I'll take away that was really positive before we get into the negative is the Rams have an absolute baller in Josh Carty. He's 9 of 10 to start his young career, and he looks like an absolute gem. He made a 50-plus yarder. He probably would have made it from 60-plus. I know he missed that field goal. I think a lot of it was on the hold, but he's really impressed me. Now, I was high on him, and that's the guy I wanted, but I expected a little bit of a struggle at the beginning. It is tough to be a rookie kicker, and he's making it look somewhat easy as opposed to the last kicker they drafted. We don't say his name on this channel, although I think I said it yesterday in the live stream. You get the point. So now we move on. to the negative part, because we have to be honest with ourselves. There's a lot of negatives from this game. First off, we have to have a serious discussion about Blake Corum. On Downtown Rams, Alexis asked me straight up, do you have any issue with Blake Corum not playing? Why do you think Blake Corum's not playing? And I told her, after the Rams won, I don't have any issue. If Blake Corum's not out there, whatever. As long as they keep winning, fine. But when they lose, and they lose clearly knowing that, okay, they have a hole here and a hole here, that you could have used that third-round pick on one of those players to fill a gap, then yeah, I think now this is a fair discussion. If Blake Corum is barely utilized this year, I don't care about the future. This is you trying to maximize the window you have, a limited window, I might add, with Matthew Stafford. And in doing this, Blake Corum getting 0 reps on offense, the longer this goes on, the more the Rams lose, the worse this looks. This is a guy that didn't even play in the preseason. So what are we even kidding ourselves with? No preseason reps, gonna have a role. People thought he'd have a role to spell Kyren Williams. He can't even find the field. Whether it's because of pass protection or whatnot, this doesn't look like a great pick right now. Now, it's very early, okay? I'm not saying, Blake Corum's a bust. I am saying maybe drafting a linebacker instead of taking Blake Corum in the 3rd round or drafting a corner might have helped you a little bit more. But we'll see. Tyler Johnson had a costly miscommunication with Stafford on one target, his only target of the game. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of over Tyler Johnson. I'm not saying he needs to be cut, but I don't want him out there ever over Whittington, Atwell, or Demarcus Robinson. Hell, I think Xavier Smith has earned his spot to get some opportunities in the receiving game. We'll see. I am not trying to pile on Tyler Johnson, but let's be honest here. The dust has settled, the smoke has sailed, whatever. And the reality is he had a really, really nice explosive play in the Lions game and has done nothing since that. So that's something that I would say there. While Kyren was utilized in the passing game, and that was one of my positives, my negative here is that the Rams once again are showing that they cannot get the screen game working like they want to. And on the opposite side, it seems like anybody can run screens and have success against this defense. So really frustrating because I don't really understand it. On paper, Rams have plenty of offensive linemen that can help, can get over. They're, active, they're athletic enough. And then you have wide receivers that are among the best blocking wide receivers in the game. So you would have to think at some point Kyren Williams would get a crease and be able to really eat in the screen game. But that was not the case this weekend. And it is concerning how they've just not been able to get anything going. And yet they continue to use bubble screens with wide receivers. They continue to play it safe and do the dump offs. And it just hasn't been working the way you want it to. So I'm encouraged with the idea that Kyren is getting utilized in the passing game now, had 4 catches in this one. But I'm also discouraged by the fact that they're not really getting a lot of yards out of it. And if this guy got a little bit of blocking, he could make a lot of teams pay. Demarcus Robinson had some rare struggling in the run game, I would say. He's one of the best run blockers in the league at wide receiver, but he did struggle with this run blocking performance. Just normally not something you see out of him. The red zone offensive efficiency was just terrible. We'll have a separate video discussing Sean McVay's red zone efficiency as a whole, because let's be honest here, it hasn't been great. The majority of his career, he hasn't been great in the red zone. So, yeah. 10 missed tackles by the defense. That's not going to win you many football games. Unacceptable. Cameron Kinshin struggled again. He's going to be a very good player. The youngest player in this draft, the Rams drafted, they normally go after 24 and 25-year-olds. They went after the 21-year-old Cameron Kinchins, who's got some ball skills that we still have not seen in the NFL. He hasn't had those opportunities. But then he had some issues in college, and one of those issues, of course, was being able to make those tackles and take the proper angles, and he's just not doing that. Kinchins, to me, struggles again and just doesn't look ready for this big of a role this early on. What's the solution, you may ask? I kind of want to see, Quentin Lake go back to safety and have Akello Witherspoon play the star, or vice versa, have Akello Witherspoon play safety. You got to get him out there, and you got to get Cam Kinchins back on the bench. He's going to take some time to develop, and I think he's going to be a really good player, but this is too early. He does not look ready, and they have taken advantage of him so far. He's had multiple plays in the defensive side where you're like, that cost him big. You look at the Lions game, the helmet to helmet. You look at week 3, the helmet to helmet on his own players. You look at week 2 against Marvin Harrison Jr. He comes down, he's the last line of defense, and he tries to ball hawk it and totally misses. And then this week, he struggled. So he definitely struggled on the touchdown. So it is just one of those things where I like the player. I'm not trying to hate on the player or the person. Let me make that very clear. Never hating on the person. But Kinchins right now is not ready for this type of role. If you gave him 10 snaps a game or 5 snaps a game, fine. But this type of role where he's out there the whole time almost, not really thinking that's what's best for the team. Just my take. Speaking of Cameron Curl is not playing at the level the Rams had envisioned him to play at when they signed him. He's not playing at the level anywhere near what I thought he would play at. Now it's early. He can turn it around. Things do change. But I haven't overly been impressed with Cam Curl, and that penalty yesterday cost him. So he's got to step up. Then we have Christian Roseboom, who gave up more yards than anyone in coverage, including a touchdown, the only touchdown that Caleb Williams threw. So really not good there. Troy Reeder gave up the second most yards in coverage. Both of these guys combined to give up 11 catches on 11 targets for over 100 yards and a touchdown. I mean, I came out first game of the season. I was going to give him the opportunity. I wanted to see Omar Speights and Jake Hummel. I've been pounding the table to see those guys, but I wanted to give these guys an opportunity to show maybe they're not what we think. And sure enough, week 1 against the Lions, I saw immediately these guys did not play at the level that you were expecting. However, after I made the video and I said, based on this video, based on these, plays, these snaps, what we saw against the Lions, this linebacker group might surprise people if they continue to play like this. Well, guess what? They didn't continue to play like that. Now they're really struggling. And it's one thing, they were struggling last week. It's one thing to be like, yeah, we won last week. We're not really trying to make any just giant decisions like that. We don't want to, hurt anything. We don't want to kill team morale, all of that. At the same time, now you lost. So there should be changes being made. We'll see if those changes are made, but I don't know how much longer you can stick around with Christian Roseboom and Troy Reeder starting. They do not get enough depth out there in coverage, and so they get absolutely eaten alive. And then in the run game, while they make some splash plays, and keep in mind, anyone in the NFL can make a splash play here and there, and while they do that, more often than not, they're liabilities in the run game. So especially Troy Reeder, he's missing his gap assignments. He's not getting off his blocks. We're seeing that. On the play where Michael Hoyt goes down and he's basically the last line of defense and tries to make a tackle on Swift before he takes off and runs it for a touchdown, on that same play, Troy Reeder is nowhere. He's not in the middle of the field. So where is he? He's getting gobbled up in a blocking scenario, situation, whatever. He cannot get off his man. So that was an issue. That happened. It was an issue. Both linebackers continue to struggle in the run game. They're struggling in the pass game. Nothing is going well with those two linebackers since week 1. I will say, though, week 1, they played excellent, and you have to at least give them that. Now it's time to make a decision. Omar Speights, Jake Hummel, they should be next up. Otherwise, I don't know what you're doing. And as far as, because people always ask me, do you still feel the same way you felt about Ernest Jones? Ernest Jones, keep in mind, I hated the trade. I'm a big denier of any of those type of values. Like, that's not value. When you trade a guy for a pick swap 2 years from now, you might as well have just kept him. Now, I can't say what I was told off the record, but I can tell you that this is a guy that basically they felt other guys in the building had done enough where he would actually get cut. And I'll just say this, and this has nothing to do with what I was told, off the record, but I'll just say this. My personal belief is this. Truthfully, Ernest Jones was never going to get cut. Ernest Jones was traded because he's in a contract year, and they realized that they weren't going to get anything done, and I think that they were trying to avoid any sort of maybe distraction. The reality is this. Ernest Jones, distraction or not, is a better linebacker than anybody on this team. And another thing I'll mention is that trading away a guy like Ernest Jones doesn't help team morale. And another thing I'll say is that trading away Ernest Jones, this is entirely contract and business motivated. You can't tell me if this happened last year, if what I was told happened last year, he would have been traded. No way. So that's my take. I don't know how Troy Reeder went from a player, and I like Troy Reeder. I do. I wish he'd play a little bit better, but I do like him. We interviewed him on DTR. I've had a soft spot for him for a while. He's always been picked on. Even when he plays well, he gets shit. So I've always wanted to defend Troy Reeder, but I just simply can't do that right now. He is struggling. Roseboom is struggling. They have to make a decision. Neither of these guys are starting linebackers. That's fine. They're great backups to have, but they're starting them right now. And they purposely went into the season right before the season and weakened an already weak position group. So say what you will. I don't know. I really don't know what to trust anymore when it comes to the linebackers, but I can tell you right now, I trust my eyes. I trust what I saw in film, and I trust that right now, those two linebackers are not the same linebackers we saw against the Lions. They're struggling, and it's hurting the Rams, and they have to make a decision. In addition to that, Trey White got dinged with 2 costly penalties. He's been much better in coverage as of late. He's still not good enough, still not better than Witherspoon, should not be starting over Witherspoon, and that's just that. But Trey White, the 2 costly penalties, while they may have been ticky-tack, I think one of them was ticky-tack. The other one, that was, I think, a fair penalty. But those 2 costly penalties cost them, okay? Gave the Bears field position, bailed Caleb Williams out. So not good. And the thing that concerns me the most about Trey White getting penalties this early on in the season is Trey White is going to develop a reputation for getting penalties. This is exactly what happened last year with Darion Kendrick, who had 11, I believe. When referees catch wind, this guy is doing this guy's doing this guy can't, whatever, they throw the flag. You have all of their attention. They're expecting you to have a penalty to be thrown on. You are an easy target. So I am very worried about that. It almost makes him damaged goods in a sense, because now you have those penalties hang over your head. Now you have essentially, you have that whole reputation built, and it's a problem. And so that's what I'll say about that, is that when it comes to, Trey White, it's not even about the cover skills. It's not even about the lack of athleticism anymore because of the injuries. No, I'm concerned about the penalties right now. That's what I'm concerned with, because Trey White right now has 5 penalties. That is 4th in the league right now. Okay? He is 4th in the league in penalties on him. So that's a problem. Kobe Durant on the flip side, I thought he played pretty well, but I also have to point this out. He was beat a few times, okay? Caleb Williams overthrew open receivers. This could have been worse. They could have given up more touchdowns. They only gave up 1. But Kobe Durant was beat multiple times in this game. Don't get it twisted. Another thing, though, Kobe Durant's also playing with a toe injury, and it's not a good injury, guys. I mean, he's playing through pain. Let's give the guy his props. Doesn't make it not, that he shouldn't have given up a touchdown. But anyway, Last thing on that, Caleb Williams was not at all good in this one, but that's a negative for the Rams because he left a lot on the field. We just mentioned Kobe Durant. Well, you got to give the Rams defense credit because their pass rush forced these incompletions. But at the same time, now I'm concerned about the secondary because these guys were open and the pass rush held it from being exposed. And when you're going up against somebody like Caleb Williams, who has a ginormous ceiling, but maybe a lower floor than people realize, well, that makes sense. Okay. Yes, Caleb Williams is going to miss guys. He's going to leave it on the field. He's going to miss out on players, whatever. We saw Brock Purdy last week. If he sees Ayuk, the game is over, right? If he throws to Ayuk over the top, he burned Trey White. So we've seen it. But the Rams on this schedule are going up against Josh Allen down the stretch, right? They're going up against Josh Allen. They'll be going up against Brock Purdy again. They're going up against some good quarterbacks. They got some good quarterbacks left on the schedule. Don't forget Aaron Rodgers, right? They still have to face Kyler Murray again, who gave them fits the last time. So these are guys that can play and get away with a lot of those things, but also aren't going to... Do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to miss the guys wide open? No. So that is a concern of mine, very big concern of mine, and that's what I will say. So to wrap this video up, and I hope you guys enjoyed my takeaways from week 4 against the Bears. To wrap this up, to summarize it, I think the Rams have a lot of good stuff that we're finding out early on. When you have a banged up team, these guys now have to step up and play better football than maybe what is expected of them, okay? That's just the reality of it. When you lose a Cooper Kupp and a Puka Nacua and Darius Williams and John Johnson and 3 of your offensive linemen and Tyler Higbee, like all these guys being out, you have to have guys step up, but they have to play at a high level. They can't just play at what they're expected of. They need to play above and beyond. And I do think we've seen that at Jordan Whittington, Tutu Atwell. Kyron Williams looks fantastic, all of that. I do think we've seen some good things out of Bruss and Bo Limmer. I do think that the defensive front looks nasty and they're getting a lot of pressure, and this is a great sign. But at the same time, there's legitimate negatives that could cripple this team. And it starts with the linebackers, red zone efficiency, and the uncertainty in the cornerback room. Clearly, the best cornerback on the Rams is not on the field. Whether you think that's Darius Williams, who's on IR, or Ahkello Witherspoon, who only played 9 snaps, does not matter what you think. But the reality is one of those guys is the best corner on this team. The other guy's the second best corner on this team, and neither of them are on the field as much as the other guys. That's my take. Same with the linebackers. I don't know if Spates is going to be great. I don't know if Humble's going to be great. I don't know if Olakunle Fatukasi makes sense to take him off the practice squad or Elias Neal. But the reality is this is not working. It can't get much worse with the linebackers. You need to do something. There needs to be a drastic change. And in addition to that, the red zone offense efficiency, you have to run the football. You cannot just pass. I know you have Stafford. I know you love Stafford. I love Stafford. But the reality is they've been throwing a lot, and they have not received much out of it. Matthew Stafford, for his entire season, while I do believe he is one of the best quarterbacks in football, I don't think the actual stats indicate that. He's thrown 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. 2 of the touchdowns the Rams have scored have been Stafford. The rest have been Kyron Williams. Keep feeding Kyron. They can't stop him. They try, but they can't do it. And for whatever reason, the Rams only gave him 19 carries in a game where the Bears showed that they could not stop the run. 4.9 yards per carry, including a goal line touchdown by Kyron Williams. No idea why they abandoned the run, but those are my thoughts. We'll see what ends up happening with the Packers game. Right now, I'm leaning a Rams win. I think the Packers had a very impressive comeback and almost won that game against the Vikings. And I know they've given the Rams fits in the past, but they have not played in LA since 2018 when the Rams won the Super Bowl, or went to the Super Bowl, excuse me. I was at that game against the Packers, and they could have won, but Ty Montgomery fumbled the kickoff, and so Aaron Rodgers didn't get a chance to march down the field. And knowing Aaron Rodgers, he probably would have. But it's going to be interesting. It's a huge game. The Packers need it. The Rams need it more. The Rams right now, the season's not over. I don't care what anyone says in the comments section about the season being over. I will disagree. The season's not over. But at some point or another, 1-3, you have to start winning games again. And this, to me, is the last game before the bye. You have to be able to win this. This, to me, is a must win. They all are. But this one, if they lose this, it's going to be tough. I don't think the Raiders are just a guaranteed win. They got a tough defense, can create pressure. They have guys that can run the football. They have guys that can catch the football. They have a solid quarterback in Gardner Minshew. So I'm not saying out of the bye that's a gimme. I'm definitely not saying Seattle's a gimme. Definitely not the Vikings. There's no gimmies in the NFL, really. We're learning that, hopefully, by now. But it does get a little bit easier than playing against the runner-up of the Super Bowl and the runner-up in the NFC title game in, the first 3 games of the year, okay? It is going to get a little easier. Unfortunately, this was one of the easier games, and the Rams blew it. They should have beat the Bears, but that's it. So appreciate you guys for hanging out, listening to me ramble on about my notes that I wrote down from yesterday's game, the positives, the negatives. I gave you, I think, a pretty heavy dose on both sides because that was that type of game. I mean, on one hand, you love getting guys like Jordan Whittington reps, getting guys like Bo Limmer and Logan Bruss, and seeing Tutu Atwell do his thing and Kyron Williams. But on the other, you hate seeing what the linebackers are giving up in coverage, what the red zone offense looks like, just not scoring touchdowns, and 10 missed tackles by the defense. Stuff like that is just not going to do it. So once again, special thanks to our sponsor today, Prize Picks. Be sure to use my code JKBogan and get $50 in your account instantly when you sign up for a $5 lineup, win or lose, rain or shine, you get the $50. So that's going to do it. If you like this, be sure to like it, be sure to subscribe, and be sure to comment if you haven't already. And follow me on all social media at JKBogan, including Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, and Kick. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, folks. Later. Do you love talking about the Rams, the NFL, or just want to be a part of a community? Join my free Discord server today. We're over 800 members. We got 24/7 live chat, a level 3 boosted server, the ability to call into JE Live, playing online games with us on Kick streams, toggleable alerts for when I go live on YouTube or Kick so you don't miss a live stream, and exclusive giveaways. Click the link in the description, the comments section, or the link that comes up in the video to learn more and join today.